Let's talk about some hot drama. SEC probes Ryan Cohen's Bed Bath & Beyond trades. Billionaire took $120 million position in housewares retailer, then abruptly sold it. When this was happening in real time, I covered it. Emotions were high and the insanity of the situation was high. As a quick recap, here's what happened. Every single quarter, depending on who you are, your position, the size of your investment, some people need to report their position, which includes long positions, calls, and puts, not shorts. Anyway, this report came out for Ryan Cohen because he was at the point of being an activist investor, a large investor in BBBY, the ticker symbol for Bed Bath & Beyond. So when the report came out of his position at whatever day for the previous quarter, people realized that he increased his position. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I believe it was both his equity position and also his call option position. Well, obviously, when this became public, the retail community, especially fueled by Reddit, saw this as an amazing opportunity. And within a day or two, the stock shot up crazy amounts. Then within that very short movement that was prompted because people saw what he was doing, he sold his entire position into it. He went to zero, and I believe his profits were in the realm of $60 million. I remember the day this happened. You could check it out. I was streaming literally from a stair stepper, talking about how when you're a suit, you're always a suit. He was doing this to make money, and that's his goal. His goal is to make money, so whatever. The timing of it may be a little bit immoral. I question if it is or isn't illegal just because I'm not a lawyer. I don't work for the SEC, but obviously the SEC finds the whole situation to be suspect enough that they are now officially probing Mr. Ryan Cohen. The SEC is investigating billionaire Ryan Cohen's ownership and surprise sale of Bed Bath & Beyond shares at a time when so-called meme stocks were all the rage with investors. Cohen took a $120 million stake in Bed Bath & Beyond and pushed for changes to the housewares retailer sales strategy, but abruptly sold his 11.8% interest in August 22. So once again, when you're over 10%, when you're that large of an owner of a company, you're going to be subject to having to do these quarterly filings. Just days after tweeting positively about the company, the 5-month investment netted him a profit of nearly $60 million. Also, right here, the fact that it was 5 months, there's other rules about this of the duration of your hold, especially once again, for his size of an investment. A lot of people calling that out. I was like, well, hang on, man, you had to be in for more than 6 months, so shouldn't you have to give the money back? But maybe we're going to get more information on that when the SEC does look into the situation. Cohen's interest in the company spurred a frenzy of trading that caused its stock to soar 34% in a day before collapsing when he disclosed the sales, prior to which he had gotten 3 new members appointed to the board. The SEC has requested information from Cohen about his trades and his communications with officers or directors at Bed Bath & Beyond. So obviously in the market, if it was some random person who didn't really have public influence, who didn't have a connection to the board, who didn't recently take on an activist campaign to get really his own people on the board, you could buy and sell at your own free will, even if it's sizable. The question here is, what was going on with you putting on board members? What was the communication? Basically, it's saying, did you know something that was not public information and trade on it? That's what I would assume the SEC is really looking into here. The SEC's civil investigation sometimes takes more than 2 years and can end without regulator bringing formal claims or wrongdoing. Once again, this isn't a criminal case, it's a civil case, and the burden of proof is a lot lower in a civil case, and he's not going to be facing any jail time even if found guilty. Basically, you just get hit with a financial penalty. And also with that, you don't have to be proven guilty. It kind of is the best way I could describe it of, okay, or is it more so that you're guilty or more so likely that you're innocent? And depending on where you are in that, you might have to pay some level of a fine. But no matter how bad this goes for him or even the SEC, he's not going to face jail time. This is just a civil investigation, which means money. A group of Bed Bath & Beyond investors sued Cohen last year in Washington, D.C. federal court, alleging he committed fraud because he was aware of bad news about the company that hadn't been disclosed when he sold his shares. So once again, it doesn't really have to do with his buying and selling. It has to do with the timing of his buying and selling. And did he know something that was not yet publicly available, which prompted him to do his sale? The claim his statements on Twitter and in the SEC filings were part of a pump and dump strategy that left small investors nursing big losses. In an order issued in late July declining to dismiss the investors' claims, U.S. District Judge Trevor McFadden called the timing of Cohen's trades sketchy. And one thing that is like kind of being referred to is actually this tweet right here. Here's the link for it. Loop Capital says Bed Bath & Beyond comeback doesn't make fundamental sense. Stock headed to $1. And then he said right here, at least her cart is full, with this smiley emoji. And that's actually attempting to be used as a piece of proof. According to the investors' lawsuit, Cohen misled investors when he tweeted on April 12, 2022 in response to a negative news article about Bed Bath & Beyond that included an emoji showing the face of the moon. In his response to the investors' lawsuit, Cohen denied misleading the market about his trading plans. He decided to sell, he said in a court filing, because the stock price had unexpectedly increased to a value that exceeded what he believed it was worth. So he's just saying it was fundamentally overvalued, so it was time for him to leave. Cohen also said that one of his earlier disclosures told investors that he could sell some or all of his shares. He didn't change that statement, so investors were on notice that Cohen could dump his stake at any time. In declining to dismiss the case, Judge McFadden wrote that investors plausibly alleged that the moon tweet relayed that Cohen was telling his hundreds of thousands of followers that Bed Bath stock was going up and that they should buy or hold. I find that to be silly. Just an emoji. Like, come on. I think that's a bit of a stretch. In the week after his tweet, Cohen filed two public updates to his Bed Bath & Beyond holdings. The first on August 16, 22, that he said he hadn't done any trading during the prior 60 days. The second, filed on August 18th, obviously 2 days later, said that he began selling all of his shares 2 days earlier. So basically, the timing of it is suspect, and maybe it's in the legal gray area. If anything, I think this crosses a clear moral line. Basically, a document came out saying he increased his position. The document is delayed though. The position was actually increased before. The world found out of it on August 16th. When they found out, the stock ripped up. He sold that day, and then the world found out he sold that day 2 days later, and then the stock cratered. Is it illegal? Once again, I'm not a lawyer. I don't speak legalese. I think it's pretty freaking immoral. But if the argument is like, oh, the emoji told us he was buying and we should all hold, well, I don't agree with that. I think if there is going to be legal culpability here, I think it's going to be more so of the lines of, did he know something that prompted him to sell that was not public information? Hence why the SEC is looking into his communications with members of Bed Bath & Beyond. I think if I had to guess, I think that's what it's really going to end up focusing on. But once again, I'm no lawyer, but I think the whole emoji thing is a weak argument. Once again, I do think it's immoral. A lot of people look to him and they like literally called him like Daddy Cohen and blah, 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 my wife or girlfriend's boyfriend. Like, he was looked at as like this symbol of a guy who was going to end up diamond handing it. So obviously his sale of it like hurt that symbolism, but then it's a question of, was it legal or illegal? And obviously it's going to apparently take a while for the SEC to actually give us any answer on that. Apparently it could take a couple of years, but wild stuff. Truly, truly wild.